Hello everybody, this is Atul from IT Codes. Welcome back to my training channel. Today we are going to learn about Python and PHP. We will be setting a fast API in Python and accessing the data using PHP. The data will be stored in MySQL. So what we will be learning is API creation using your Python, fetching data from MySQL and creating a small front-end page which will be displaying the data from the MySQL table. So let's dive into the coding and start the project. So for creating the project, first of all we will be creating a folder inside C. That is, I will give the name as Python API. When we open it inside your Visual Studio Code, so we open the folder, take it from C and we open the Python API folder. So select the folder. Now first and foremost, to work with the fast API, the things which we need is we will be needing fast API, UVCon to run that project, and MySQL connector Python. These are the libraries which are needed to create the project and connect to MySQL using your Python. So you have to run this command on the prompt. You have to go to the prompt and install this particular thing. I have already done this, still I will show it. So we go on the command prompt and I go in the folder. So this will install this. It is already installed, so it is showing me that requirement is satisfied. This is already installed. So if it is installed, then it will show you this message, and if it is not, then it will go to the internet and install it from the server. So these are the things which are needed. The command should be pip, that is installing all the APIs and the libraries. So pip install fast API, UVCon, MySQL-connector-Python. This is the library needed to connect to MySQL server. So these things are now installed. Now first file which we will be creating will be the connection file. So we can give the name as dbconfig.py, that is a Python extension. It is asking me select the language, so I'll just type and give it as Python. So it gives me the IntelliSense over here. So first step will be importing the MySQL connector. So the step is import MySQL dot connector. It should pop up. If it doesn't, then your installation is not perfect. So MySQL.connector is imported. Now after that we define a function. So for defining a function we give the statement as def, that is def definition, def underscore connection. This is my function name. You can give any function name over here. So this is done, and to define that function we specify colon, and now we will be doing connection to the MySQL server. So for that we give a variable, that is connection equals to MySQL dot connector dot, the function is connect. So this comes if it is imported over here. So MySQL dot connector dot connect is the function name, and we specify the function over here. Press enter, and over there we have to give the specific thing, that is host equals to, in my case it will be localhost. Second thing will be user, so that user will be root. By default the username is root. Third thing is the password. We specify the password equals to blank. I haven't given any password in my server, so the password will be blank. If you have given the password, then you have to specify that password over here. Then last comes the database name. So that is database equals to I give the name as PythonDB, which is not created, but we will be creating this particular name. After this is done, we have to return that particular object of connection which we made. So the last line will be return and return you can specify the name, so it will be connection so this will be your db-config.py, that is the connection Python file. Next file we will be creating the actual API, which will be the FastAPI, which will connect to the database and fetch the records for now. Then we'll be doing the cURL operation later on. So for that we give the name as just say products .py. Give the name as products.py. Now over here we want to use FastAPI, so we'll be typing from FastAPI import FastAPI. Remember, all things should pop up, otherwise your installation of library is not perfect. Remember that thing. Next we want to import is from FastAPI dot middleware dot curs import curs. curs middleware. Now what is this curs? Cross browser request. So each browser has a protection facility that it stops the connection from another browser or another IP address or another domain. Your API will be working on another path, that is the server path, and your PHP, that is the WAMP server or XAMPP server or your hosting server, will be running on a different host. So for protection, this curs is included in each and every browser. So we have to bypass and we have to give the permission to the application so that it can accept the cross origin request. This is known as curs. So for that you have to import this middleware.curs, import curs middleware. After that we have to import the config from the database which we made, so that is from db-config import. Our function name is getConnection, so it will pop up automatically. So three things we imported, that is FastAPI from FastAPI itself, FastAPI.middleware.curs, import cross middleware, that is curs middleware. So for that, now we do is we create the actual app. So that is app, we give the variable name equals to FastAPI. So when you just type this new function for that FastAPI, it will create the server with the name app over here. First and foremost thing, for each and every API, that is whether it is React, Angular or whatever, what we do is we give the permission to curs. So app dot add middleware, it will pop up, and in that we have to give all the kinds of permission which we want to give. So over here we give as curs middleware, that is the name of our import, and then we give comma. Next step is allow. Remember, don't make a typo mistake over here. allow underscore origin. Now origin means whatever URL, the original URL, whatever server URL it is, that is origin. We give the permission right now over here is asterisk, that is star. Remember, this is good for testing only. On your real-time creations, don't do this. It is risky because hackers will penetrate inside your website easily if we do this. For now it is testing server, so we can just give it over here. Allow methods also, that is equals to, again we specify asterisk symbol, star, that is all methods are allowed. Put, get, post, delete. So these are the methods, HTTP method which will be used over here. Third is allow headers. So HTTP headers should be allowed. So over here again we give as headers, and headers also we give as asterisk symbol, that is star. So these are all three things which we allow to all, because we are just doing it on testing server. Remember, this is only good for testing server. Otherwise you have to specify the methods which are allowed and even the IP address, that is from this URL only it should be valid. Request from your original server URL. So that URL has to be given over here. After that, this is done. So now what we have is, we have app, which is a server, and app has already been added with the middleware, that is cors middleware. After that, what we do is we say @app, and we specify the method over here as get. Now this get method, we specify slash over here. Slash means the root of your API URL. So when the API URL is directly written in the browser, this will redirect to this particular path. So what should happen when the user browse the entire root of my API? So that is slash, and we give another function, that is def, define the function, and home, that is home. What we will be doing is return. So we have to return something. In return, we just type a message over here. So in that return, we can just give a curly bracket, and in curly bracket we give the message, and message we can specify welcome to FastAPI. Whatever you want to type, you can type it over here. So when the user will just browse the entire first URL of your API, this particular message will display in the browser. So this is just for the root of your API. Next thing is, what will be done when we fetch the data from the database. So that is, we specify over here app.get, and over here in that we specify the path. We want to specify it as /products. So it will browse products over here, and it should fetch that products from the database. So products given over here, we specify as def get underscore products. This is my function name, and over here now what we will be doing is, we will be connecting to the MySQL server and getting the data from the table. So for that, we already have defined the connection, that is inside your get connection function. So we can define it over here, that is connection equals to get connection. It will pop up. So it will bring the connection from the dbconfig py file which we created. So connection will be given over here. Now for fetching, we will be needing something known as cursor. So we create an object of cursor. Cursor, the spelling, the typo should be this, cursor equals to connection dot, we give connection dot cursor, and we give it a parameter as dictionary, and we specify true. This particular line, what it does is that the cursor will bring in the format of the database dictionary and not a tuple. The format, it will be the dictionary format which is inside your MySQL. This true thing does that much thing. So what we have done is, we specified a cursor, connection dot cursor, and the dictionary should be true. Thereafter again we say cursor. Now the object is created, so you have to execute it over here. So cursor dot execute, the method will pop up, and in that execute statement, what we have to do is, we have to fetch the products. So we give the statement as select star from our table name, that will be products, and this is done. So now we specify one array. We give it as products1 because I have already given the products.py, so I don't want it to clash. You can give products also, equals to cursor dot fetch all. This method will pop up. So this cursor will fetch all the data from this particular query, and it will assign it to one array named as products1. So that is done over here. Thereafter, what we want to do is, we want to close the cursor. So cursor dot close, because our task has been done, so we just want to close the cursor. So we give the statement as cursor dot close. Then step comes to close the connection, that is connection dot close. So this method will also pop up, and we close both. After that, we have to return the array which is found over here. So what we do is, in our return statement we have to pass that particular in your curly bracket. In curly bracket what we do is, we give the name as products, and products what we specify our array name, that is products1. So this will be our return statement. So we created two files, dbconfig.py and products.py. dbconfig contains the connection. For connecting we use MySQL connector, which we already installed using the pip command. We define the function. You specify three things over here, that is hostname, password and the database, to connect that particular server and fetch that particular table address, and we return the connection object which is created over here. This file will be used inside your second py we created, that is fetching API. So that API name I gave it as products.py. Three things has to be imported at the top. First is FastAPI from FastAPI, FastAPI.middleware.cors, that is cross origin request, import cross middleware, cors middleware. Then from dbconfig import the connection file over here. App equals to FastAPI. So we created the app, the actual server over here, using that FastAPI constructor. We want to add the middleware. In middleware what we do is, we allow origin, allow methods and allow headers. For testing server you can make it star, that is asterisk over here, because we don't have any hacking things over here, so we can just test it. But on your original URL don't do these steps. Specify the original accessing path over here and the methods also over here. So this has to be done from your curs thing. Thereafter we specify a get function, that is app.get, and the root of your API. Root of the API is slash, so we specify slash in the root. We define a function as def home and we just return a message over here. Next we have to fetch it from the database, so we give the path as slash products and def get products, that is my function name. We call the connection from get connection, that is from dbconfig, and we create an object over here. After that we define a cursor, connection.cursor, and we specify dictionary equals to true, so this will be the database format. Cursor.execute, select star from products. So we execute this query using the cursor object. We define a products1 variable and we fetch using fetch all. So this data will be filled inside your products. We close the connection and the cursor, and then we return the products. So this is the API thing which is done. So this much part has to be done in your API, so your API will be running. So now what we have to do is, we have to start our XAMPP server. Both the servers are running. I go in PHP MyAdmin, and inside that I have to create the database and the table which I want. So I go in the database, we give the database named as product.db. We change the database name, we give as Python DB. We use the table name over here as products, so we create the name as products table over here. In that I specify three fields. I give the name as ID, integer, and I want it auto increment, so it will make it primary. Product name, varchar, give a size as 100, and product, or we make it simple, ID name and price. Price you can give float or integer or big integer. This is it. So we define a table with three fields, ID, name and price. We can insert data inside it. Shoes, I give it a price as 1200. Second item is shirt, I give it a name as 900. I specify go. So this should insert two records. So two records are already inserted. Now you can browse it. So this is the records which are inserted. Now we already have created the API. So for running that API or testing that API, we need a command. So this is the command. I told you that uvcon is needed to run that py command, that is the Python files. So over here we just go in the terminal window. Command to run will be uvcon, the file name, that is the main py file name, and then the app variable which we defined. So uvcon, and then we'll just specify the products, which is a py file name, and app, and press enter. This will start the server. So when you click on control and click the URL, so you see the first message, that is welcome to Python FastAPI. This is the message which we already did over here, that is a slash path. And now if I do slash products, it should fetch from the database. We specify slash products and it should run. It is giving me an internal server error. Let's check. Okay, sorry, in my config file we just forgot to give the username. So for that user we have to give the username over here. So we specify user equals to root. Okay, I have to refresh the app. Close it, run it again. API is running. Products. So you can see that our API is working and it is fetching the array with the name as products ID, which is inside your database. Now the next step will be creating the front end PHP file inside your XAMPP server, so we can access this API and print it on the web page using PHP or utilizing the API inside the PHP. Now for creating a PHP front end, we have to first create a folder inside your htdocs folder. So we go inside XAMPP. Inside your XAMPP, we go in htdocs. We create a folder. I give the name as Python frontend. We open another studio, open the folder, and we go to htdocs. We select the folder. Now in this folder we have to create a file, that is index.php. That's the basic syntax of creating a PHP file. Now over here what we have to do is we have to make a call to the URL, that is this URL /products, so that we can fetch the data from that particular URL. So in that file, first and foremost what we create is we create a variable, that is API URL. So in PHP we define it using $API URL equals to, we just directly copy the path, so there is no mistake. We pasted the URL over here. Now the URL is done. After that we have to use curl to give a request call to this particular URL. So for creating that curl object, what we do is we define $ch equals to curl_init. This is the function which will initialize curl from curl we say curl underscore set option, that is set opt. Inside that we pass the variable as ch, and then you just define it as curl opt underscore url comma and $API URL. So we set the option to ch, that is initialization of curl object, curl opt URL, that is a constant, and which URL, that is API URL, the variable which we defined over here. So these three parameters are passed inside your set options of curl. And then what we do is second thing, curl underscore set option, again set option, we pass $ch, that is our curl initialize variable, and comma we define as curl opt underscore return transfer. Check the spelling perfectly, return transfer, and then equals to true. So these two parameters are set for curl, that is options are set for curl. Over here again what we want to do is we want to execute the request of that API URL. So we specify a variable response equals to curl underscore exec, that will execute it. So we define as curl underscore exec, that is execute a function, and what we want to execute, we want to execute ch, that is the curl init variable, after adding these two options to it. So this is done and it will execute the URL. So everything will go inside response. After that we say curl underscore close, and we specify $ch. So we close the curl object over here. Now after that what we want to do is the format which you see, we can observe it is in JSON format. To read inside your PHP we have to basically decode that particular JSON format. So for decoding that we give a variable as $data equals to JSON underscore decode, and in decode we specify the response variable, which in our case is itself $response, and you pass the second parameter true. After that what we have to do is we have to define a variable for products, that will be an array of the response. So for that I say data and square bracket and the response variable. The response variable itself is products over here, that was set in our API. So the same thing has to be passed over here. So we give in double quotes products. So this is done. So for that what we did, we defined the API URL variable. Inside that we pass the actual URL of the API. We initialized curl using curl init inside a variable index $ch. We set two options for curl, that is opt URL, which URL is to be passed, and return transfer parameter true. Thereafter we took the response inside a variable as response, and then we say curl execute and $ch, that is the variable of curl init. Thereafter we close it using curl close and ch. The data equals to JSON decode, because the data is in JSON format. So we took the JSON decode, passed the response over here and stored it inside data. Now data itself will be an array. So we define an products array which says data and which array should be used, that is products. So right now the products are inside the products variable over here. This is also multiple, so it will be an array. Now we define our actual HTML to print it. So we just say HTML and we define file, so it will prop up this thing. I want to use bootstrap CDN for CSS, so I just go to bootstrapcdn.com. Over here I use the CSS, I copy the CSS, that is copied over here, go inside it, we define it in head. We also take the JS Right now we don't need the JS, but still we take the JS. These two things are covered over here. So I can use bootstrap design over here. Basically I want to create a table, and that table should look nice using the bootstrap. So I just give the tag as table, and inside table I just give the class equals to table stripped. That is the bootstrap inbuilt class. Now in table, first and foremost we want to create the table head, so that is t head we specify over here, or we can directly give it in tr also. In tr I give the variable as th. In th I specify the first field, that is id, second field that will be name, so th and name plus th. The third will be your name and price, so that is price over here. So this is first tr which is done. Now second tr will be repeating the data fetched from here should be printed there, so it will be a loop over here. So for that I write a loop over here first, then start the tr. So we start again PHP over here, and inside that PHP what we do is we define for each. The loop is for each. For each our variable is products, which is defined over here. So for each dollar products, as we can give a runtime variable, I define it as p over here. We can say $p. So each and every product will travel inside that p variable. For each is defined over here. Thereafter again I want HTML, so I started the for, that is PHP, in one line and ended the PHP in one line. After that again I can start with HTML, so I define tr over here. Inside that tr we specify td, that is first record, and for printing we can use the associative function of PHP. We can use it this way: PHP start equals to HTML. We define as special characters, that is a function, inbuilt function in your PHP, which allows you to skip the special characters and take the special characters, whether it is comma or something which is inside your database. So again I give id over here, and we close that function. We again close PHP. So this is PHP start, and I directly assign printing over here, that is equals to HTML special characters and p, that is our dynamic variable over here, and from that the database field name, which is id. This is 1td. I copy it, paste 2 times, and I give the name over here, and the third field is price. So for that also I specify price over here, so price will be defined over here. Now that for each has to be closed after this particular tr, so that will be again one line statement, and I give as end for each. We can terminate the data over here, and then what we can do is we can directly close the PHP tag over here. So this should be done. Now after this what we can do is we can directly check whether it has been done. So first and foremost check table is closed, body is closed, and this. So if everything is good, this should run and show me the data. This should work, and it is done. So we save it over here. Now to run that I just say localhost, and my folder is Python front end. It is giving me an error, so there is some error with the line 13th line, that is response variable. So let's check it. We go inside it, and the variable name should be response. Okay, so we get the data from the database. So this is it. This is how we create the fast API in Python and get it to front end inside PHP. Now we quickly see what we did in the PHP file. Again, we created API URL variable where we pass the entire API URL. We give a variable for curl init. We set the option for curl unit, that is API URL we passed, and the second return transfer. Thereafter we created a response variable. Using curl execute, we pass the curl variable over here. We close the curl object. We take the data in JSON using JSON decode $response and true. Second thing, we created a variable products, and that is an array, so data and products, so this will hold the entire data. After that, we coded a table in HTML. We run for each over here and we define it and pass the HTML special characters ID, name and price. So for each products as P, we can run that particular file. So this is how it is done. This is twice. Let me close it once. Okay. So this is how you call it inside your PHP. Hope the entire tutorial was useful. We will come again with more tutorials on PHP as well as Python, and keep learning. For learning more languages, you can always subscribe the channel. So we'll be coming with more tutorials on each and every information technology languages. For one-to-one training base, you can always contact directly. Thank you for watching.